Hello and welcome to another episode of the Optimize Show. I am David Mamano, your host, bringing you what I think are great interviews with great people, sharing best practices from best-in-class companies. Today I have, oh my God, an incredible guest from an incredible company. Her name is Erica Toluhi from Paychex, a local legend. Erica, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Dave, for having me.
We appreciate it. Thanks for making the time.
Absolutely.
So you have a great title, Director of Learning and Development.
That is correct.
What does that mean? What are you doing at Paychex?
Yes, I do all things to optimize performance, right? So learning and development, we're all about how do we help our organization get better, do more, help our employees feel like they're being developed in their careers and have the tools and support they need to really do high performance in their roles.
Well, it must be such a great experience, right? Because you're coming into, an incredible organization that already has a lot of, forward momentum.
Yes.
And being able to bring it to that next level, right?
Yes.
It's not like you're going to a struggling company and like, how do we go from fair to good? I mean, you're going from great to outstanding, right?
That's right. Look at Dave being a Paychex spokesperson. We love you, Dave.
I love Paychex.
Yes, yes, and you're absolutely right. It took a great company to actually get me back in Rochester, New York. I was working fully remote from Barbados. Okay.
Wow. So you're from here.
I am from here. I
you
left
moved to
for
Barbados.
schools. I moved to Houston.
Okay.
And then the pandemic hit. So my last role was hybrid, and then the pandemic hit and went fully remote. And Barbados was trying to make up for traffic that they lost during COVID, and so they had a whole thing. You can live here. You don't have to pay taxes here. You pay taxes in the U.S.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I'm fully remote, let's work from an island with awesome Wi-Fi. So we moved. Yes.
So smart.
Yes.
And then you're like, I miss lake effect snow. Let's move back to Rochester.
No. And then a recruiter reached out for a role with Paychex. And anybody who's born and raised in Rochester, New York, you know what an outstanding company Paychex is. Well known in Rochester, not just for being an outstanding company, but for what we do in the communities. And now, not just here in Rochester, but across the globe, right? So, I came back.
Well, and a company like Paychex, being local here in Rochester, and I've been able to see it just grow, and I'll say again with greatness from the beginning.
Yes.
Right. Just it's like kind of in the DNA. It would be hard to replicate like that. People know. Other companies now know what Paychex does.
Yes.
And they can quote unquote try to replicate it. But how can you can't replicate some things.
You can't.
I mean, you can't replicate the incredible DNA of workplace culture and professionalism and great service that
Paychex
and the people.
And that's exactly where I was going to go to.
Yeah.
The people is what really is our competitive advantage, right?
Yeah.
It's family. One of the things that has happened since I moved back, unfortunately, my brother, a retired police officer, he was murdered. I was only here 3 months with Paychex at the time. That was back in September.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And when I tell you, thank you, David, the way that Paychex showed up. So my previous company was about 5,000 employees, right? Paychex is like 16,000 employees, so 3 times the size.
Yeah.
The amount of outpouring and caring from not just my team, from VPs, from people who knew my brother because he was very active in Rochester community, and they also worked at Paychex, right? I had people miss board meetings to attend my brother's funeral, right? Like executives cooked for my family, like literally cooked and brought food. Where do they do that?
Yeah.
It's an outstanding company.
Yeah. And again, I think it just goes back to the beginnings of the company, and it's in the DNA, right? Like that, there's being Sicilian. We have a phrase that says the fish rots from the head down, right? So if there's a bad leader, there goes the rest of the organization. But conversely, good leadership from the start and continued, there goes the rest of the organization.
That's absolutely right.
And so Tom Golisano, the founder and CEO for a very long time, started the company late 60s, early 70s, right? And so I'm bringing him up because I think this kind of illustrates how the DNA was formed.
Right.
Because it was 1995, and I was 25.
Okay.
And I'm starting my first company,
Wow.
a magazine, right? So I'm a magazine publisher by day, but at night I'm serving rigatoni and meatballs at Mario's, right?
Yeah.
It's just to pay the bills.
Yep.
And I wait on a table, and I'm always talking to my tables. Well, the woman happens to be Tom Golisano's executive assistant. And I get all excited,
Right.
and I say, "Oh my God, I would love to pick, Mr. Galsano's brain. You think he'd have lunch with me?" And she was like, kind of smirking, like, "Probably not, but I'll ask him." And probably like, "Oh, poor boy,
Right.
But I'll ask him." So I gave her my brand new business card. When you know it, about a week later, she calls me. She goes, "Tom's going to meet with you." She goes, "Yeah, this day, North Side in for lunch. I brought a notepad," and he spent like an hour and a half with me, and he became a mentor. He jokes later now. He goes, "Well, I viewed you as a future prospect." But he just wanted to help a young entrepreneur.
Yes,
And so now hearing about how executives cook, brought food. I mean, it's just you have to
Built
think
it into the DNA of the company. Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Yes.
So how do you take that to the next level? Explain the importance of your role, which once again is learning and development. Right.
So yes. So the importance is we understand that individuals within a company, Paychex is an outstanding company, and we want to be able to keep our talent there, right? We that's what gives us our competitive advantage. So making sure that we have a strong L&D team to help them get the tools that they need to feel developed in their roles, to grow in their career at Paychex, right? You can come in and be a payroll specialist and then end up the VP of our product, right? And that's the case with our current VP of product, Tom Hammond, right? So people who have really grown their careers there, in part due to having development that is homegrown right within Paychex to help them grow in their careers.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So, you're there for a little over a year now.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about, have you learned what was kind of like the beginnings of the training and development programs, learning and development programs, and how has it evolved over the years? And then, where do you plan on taking it?
Right, yeah. So in the beginning, one of the things I think Tom had such a clear vision of what really drives success, and that's why Paychex has been successful. It's very few companies last 50 years, right? And we got another 50 to go, right? So, but part of that is because he truly believed in training and making sure you set people up with the right skills. So anybody that knows the Paychex stories, they know that Paychex, even when you go into our corporate office, the first thing you see are all the training rooms. It's built around development. What are we going to do to help give them the tools they need to be successful, right? Yeah. And so back in the day, people would all fly to Rochester to go through payroll specialist school for our sales training. They would come, it was all on site, and you would fly and you'd be there on site. And that's because he really believed in helping you get what you needed to do your role, but also become part of the Paychex culture, even if you're not living in Rochester. And that's been outstanding. But as times go, we know we live in a digital world now, and so the programs have grown. We are able to do a lot of things virtually, and we've also grown our L&D department where we have trainers in the different locations that we service and communities. So now they don't have to fly to Rochester. They can stay right there in Phoenix and be trained on site there in Phoenix. And then also be trained virtually, and not the type of just the e-learnings, right? And we see a lot of that e-learnings have blown up, but what we know is that new hires especially, they want a connection. All of us, humans are built to connect. So I don't want to just come to a company and get online and take a course, right? I want to come to a company and be guided through that, right? I may have an online course, but I want to know that David's right here next to me. He has my hand. He's going to make sure I'm going to be okay, and that's what we do for our employees.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I was going to say, because coming to Rochester back in the day, the benefit of that is, you are with people.
Yes.
Right? And I joke that nothing can replace belly to belly, right? Just being with people, And so what are some of the things that you do if someone is in, Houston and you have a team all over the country?
Right.
What are some of the things you do to just make sure that there's still that engagement and connection among people?
I love that you asked that question, because that is so true, right? We need to connect. So some of the things we do, like I said, we've expanded our L&D department to make sure that we have at least 2 trainers on site at each of our strategic locations, so that we can actually train in person in groups. groups, right? And they can come in and they start in a cohort with different people with different experiences, and they learn from each other as well, right? We understand that people bring a wealth of experience with them too, and we want to tap into that. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we're very intentional about our virtual trainings and making sure that our leaders, that they jump into and they talk to the new hire classes if they have to get on a WebEx, but they're talking to them, they're connecting with them, they're letting them know the next time I'm in Phoenix, I'm going to stop by and see you. And they follow up and they do that, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sure that people understand that even if they're working remotely, we care about you and we're being intentional about connecting with you. We're making sure we're on camera, all of us as an executive team, when we're in meetings, we're on camera, we're connecting, we're seeing people. And then we're traveling more again, right? COVID is over, right? We're still here, but you know what I mean,
Hallelujah.
right? And thank you. And so we're getting out there and we're touching, like you said, belly to belly, and we're letting the teams know we're in it with you.
Yeah,
So,
that's fantastic.
yes.
Learning, training, development, it's always evolving.
Yes.
So what are some of the things that are in your training programs today that maybe weren't in the programs, 5 years ago?
Yeah. So one of the things that's in our training program, and it's like what everybody's all talking about these days, right, is AI. So we are using tools, especially with our sales agents, right? We have an opportunity where we're using software that when they're recording their pitches, it's going through and it's filtering to say what keywords, things they used or said, or things that they could have done better, and then it's giving that input to our leaders. Our trainers, our learning instructors, they're able to look at that, they get a feed out of, okay, here's some key things that happened during that conversation, and then they're following up to coach and develop. And our managers are doing the same, and that's something you wouldn't have seen 5 years ago, but a way that Paychex is using technology to help us, because of what I think of AI is more about the aiding of intelligence and not just artificial intelligence, right? You need that human aspect, but why not use a tool that's going to make it more efficient for you to be able to coach and develop? Or for other people, I know people are doing their meal planning with it, right? So it's such a great tool and things that are to come with that type of technology that we have.
You could do meal planning with AI.
Oh, yes. I learned that myself.
Maybe that's the thing that will finally work for me.
Right. And it'll pull out the recipe for you, and then even create a shopping list of here's all the things you need to buy for this week.
All right, I'm going to go and put in how to lose 10 pounds.
Me and you both. When it gets that, it's going to really take off.
That's fantastic. So, obviously with the Optimize Show, we're always trying to share best practices when it comes to, optimizing culture and leaders and sales and anything about an organization. Engagement today, retention is so important. What are some of the things that you guys are doing in your training programs? Let's focus on one thing to help people just really be engaged with their role, with Paychex, so that they stay. Especially sales roles. What do they normally have, like 2 or 3 years on average? Right. What are some of the things you guys are doing from a learning and development perspective to try to keep people longer and more engaged?
Yes. So it goes back to your Sicilian background where you talked about the fish rotting from the head down. One of our focus right now, our major focus is for our DSMs, right? And those are our managers of our sales teams. And really helping upskill them. Because what we know, and like I talked about earlier, what people are really looking for today, after all of us going through a global pandemic, they want to be able to come to work and be their full selves. There's no longer you're at work and you're at home, right? It's blended in these days, especially with our sales force. The majority of our sales force, they work remotely. So they're working from home, or as I would like to call it, living at work, because they work all the time, right?
I like that.
And what we need to do is making sure that our DSMs are equipped to connect with them on a human level, right? So we're really putting our resources into revamping our DSM program so that we're teaching them how to do their role tactically. So the things that you have to do, the different software that you can use to help you coach and develop your agents, but more importantly, how to lead from a human-centric standpoint. And that's what we're really focused on. Paychex is a great company because we care about people. We care about not only our employees, our clients and customers. That's our whole mission, right? Is to help small and medium-sized business succeed, right? What a great company to work for. And if we care that much about them, that's how much we need to make sure our employees know we we care about them as well, their whole selves. Not just a quota that you're hitting from us, but who you are as a person and how can we help you grow and that benefit your family and the communities that you live in.
Giving me chills. You're speaking my language. I love it. Well, and it's so authentic, right? I could tell that you truly
Very
get joy
passionate
from helping people, right?
Absolutely.
And you said human
Yes.
about 10 times, which is great because we have to remember it's putting the human in human resources.
That's right.
Right? I mean, people think
Yes.
human resources, my benefits, my paycheck, but there's so much more to it.
It really is.
Right? You got to remember, like, we have humans working for us,
Yes.
and they're all different.
Yes. Yes.
Some people love to be remote. They don't want to leave the house. You and I probably are at the opposite end of that
That's
spectrum,
right?
Like,
We like to be around people.
yeah, no, when COVID hit and we were under lockdown for about 2 months, complete,
Right.
and then restaurants opened up a little bit again. We were allowed to go out. I was like the first one out of the house. There's other people I still know that stay at home.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like,
To each their own, right? Yes.
to each their own, and you have to develop programs and curriculums and strategies
For everyone.
to work with everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you've been with some different companies in similar roles. What are some of the specific things about Paychex that you find to be I'll say unique.
Oh, yes. Well, I've already touched on our people, but one of the things
Yeah.
that's extremely unique about Paychex is anybody who's in learning and development or training. You know that typically anytime there's any types of cuts or layoffs, the first place companies are going to normally look is at training.
Yeah.
Because they really don't realize the value of it.
Right.
Paychex has never done that in
Wow.
50 years, right?
Yeah,
Paychex has centered itself around L&D and development.
Yeah.
And it speaks volumes of why, and I hope other companies learn from that, right?
Yeah.
The thing that you go to first is the thing that you need the most, right? And maybe
Right.
not the most, I'm making it bigger than maybe
Well,
what
you're
it
biased,
is.
but I agree with
Right,
you.
right, I got
Yeah.
a little bias in there, right? But if you have to take care of your employees, and especially today, and how tight the talent pool is right now,
Yeah.
people can go. We see that, right? Unemployment rates are still extremely low,
Yeah, yeah.
and so you have to give them a reason to stay with you. And
Right.
part of that has to be that they are being developed for their
Yeah.
careers, either at your company or another. You also have to be okay with that too,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're a great company, you're going to develop people, and they may leave, but you'll be able to attract other talent because when they do leave, they're
Yeah.
going to have great stories about somebody cooking for their family at an executive level, right?
Right,
You're
yeah.
going to make that type of an impact that other people will still want to come and work there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it becomes a unique competitive advantage for Paychex because you're known for it's almost like university training. You're going to get very high level training.
Absolutely.
Always.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
You know?
Award-winning training programs.
And so I read Tom Golisano. I read both of his books, and I believe it was in the second book where he talks about that when they were building the headquarters over on Panorama.
Yes.
That someone gave him the idea to put all the training rooms as you walk in.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
So
yep.
people you could see look what we do
Yes.
with our people.
Absolutely.
Every time I've been there, those rooms are full.
Yes, yep. And they're full again, right? Because they weren't for a while because
Yeah.
of the pandemic, and so,
Yeah.
and it's good to see them full again, right? With us
Yeah.
doing in-person trainings and connecting to people because
Yeah.
we lost a lot of that as a world, right?
Right.
That connectedness that people really need. So.
Yeah. Well, it's a great differentiator to put that in such a priority.
Yes.
Another local company, Wegmans. My son works there part time. And you always hear Wegmans how they put their employees, their team first.
Absolutely.
And Danny Wegman would say, a lot of people say the customer is number one.
Mm-hmm.
He said, no, we say our employees are number one because if we get that right, it's going to ripple.
Exactly, and your customers will feel it, and we all feel it when we go to Wegmans, right? My son works there too. It's another great, story of such an outstanding company that really believes in their employees, and then, like you said, then your customers will feel it.
You feel the passion.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you get it right with the internal team, you're going to get it right for everybody else.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, I can tell you love working there. What has it done for you personally? Have you, in your short, year plus,
Right.
what has it done to optimize your growth?
Oh, amazing. Things like this, I get an opportunity to sit down with you and speak with you. We have an outstanding PR team, and I was like, wow. So it's exposed me to different things that I haven't been exposed to before in the past at other companies. But more importantly, it really showed me, I love L&D, right? I love it overall. But then when you get to love what you do and do it for a company that really believes in what you do as well, it's just it's a perfect match.
Do you have to pinch yourself and say, like, am I working?
I tell our VPs this all the time. They have the story about when our new CEO, John, and I went in there to talk to them, and I'm like, I love to smile. I'm happy, like, and I tell them, we're all in our careers, right? We're not at levels where we're just working to pay bills. So you should be able to come to work every day and be, look at you.
Yeah.
You could tell you're in your element as well, right?
I love it,
And it
I'm
feels
in my
good.
zone.
Yes, you are.
And you're making it easy, so thanks.
You make this easy, so thank you, but
Yeah, well, it becomes, I think if you love what you do, the energy becomes contagious.
Yes.
Like, I'm sure when you walk in a room, let's say there's a meeting of 10 people and you walk in that room, I bet that energy, all those 10 people are getting lifted a little bit just because you love what you do.
Yes.
And I think that's a big piece of great workplace culture, is just that contagious energy of wanting to lift people, wanting to do a great job, and just bring the company and the culture to the next level. So you're in a great place.
Thank you.
You left Barbados.
I left Barbados.
Come here.
They made it worth it.
They made it worth it. Yeah.
But
well, in Sicily, we would say, we made you an offer you can't refuse.
Yes.
Right? I'm sure that didn't happen. They just made you a great offer to come here.
They did. They might make me offer I can't refuse if I try to leave.
Right. Yes. Now that you're in, right?
Right.
You're in the family. Yeah.
Yes. It is funny what you said about energy being contagious. My senior leadership team, they just recently did their QBR, and I was watching them present back to the senior HR team, and I was just so proud. And then several different times they would say things like, I'm so excited to tell you. And then I'm just looking at the team compared to a year ago, and it is contagious, and it has spread throughout our entire L&D team, but also throughout the company as well, where we're re-energizing people to remember that we enjoy this work, right? And you can be professional and happy and upbeat and getting the job done. You don't have to look like it's so strenuous that, I'm working so hard.
The two can coexist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Joy and being efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
I love that. Anybody that watching this, let's say they, a small to medium-sized company looking to grow it to the next level, what's some advice that you would give them from a learning and development perspective?
Hire Paychex.
Yeah.
And we will handle it for you.
There you go. That's some great advice. That's a great advice.
But yes, mostly important if they're doing it internally, which you don't have to do. Seriously, we do offer those services. But if you do have your own internal L&D team, make sure that you have put people on the team that are passionate about what they do, that truly believe in developing people, and then be open to outside resources for benchmarking, tap into different companies, reach out, right? You said a great story about how you met Tom, and you weren't shy to say, hey, would he talk to me, right?
Right, gave it a shot.
Yes, and I've had different people actually reach out to me on LinkedIn to say, hey, one young lady I remember when I was in Barbados, and she was starting up an L&D program at a new company that didn't have a designated training program. She did not know me. She just sent me an email on LinkedIn and said, would you be willing to give me some best practices, pointers, and talk me through? And I did, right? Because I was like, oh, wow, I just found it. I was just shocked. I was like, I like that, right? That gumption to just reach out for help. So I would encourage companies
Got nothing
to do
to
that.
lose.
That's right.
If Tom said no, I still would not be having lunch with him. So you never know, right?
Exactly.
Well, and also I'm going to add, thank you for that. I'm going to add too, and this little plug, is I'm going to suggest to everybody to read Tom Golisano's books.
Yes.
His first book, Built Not Born, is incredible advice on how to build a business. And it's built not born because there's always the question, are you born to be an entrepreneur or can you learn how to be an entrepreneur? And Tom is very adamant that you can learn how to do it.
Yes.
And that's why it's built. And so that incredible book about, I believe, covering everything on how to build a successful business. I read that. And then his second book is more of like his personal journey, which I found so incredible. It's called The Italian Kid Did It, so I love that. But I mean, what starting Paychex, running for governor, the global initiative he did with Bill Clinton, the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, he's led like 4 full lives, right?
I'm like, he's done a lot, and everybody knows him. You know?
Yeah. And I still will see him, and he's very, very friendly.
Yes.
So, which goes back to the Paychex culture. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Erica Toluhi from Paychex, this has been so exciting.
Thank you. I really
love it.
enjoyed this. Thank you
so much. I appreciate it.
You're awesome.
If people like, you know what? God, I love Erica. I want to reach out to her. What's the best way to connect with you?
On LinkedIn, you can find me there, Erica Toluhi. It'll be easy. Toluhi. I might know how to spell my last name. And yeah, please do. Would love to connect in any way that I can help you or your businesses grow. Absolutely would love to do that.
Yep. And anybody wants to email me, connect with me to connect with Erica, I'd be happy to make that introduction as well. So.
Yes.
And I have used Paychex for my business in the past. Another plug, I've always had great service with them. So.
That's right, and you will continue to have great service.
Absolutely.
Okay?
So, well, thanks again, Erica. I wish you
Thank
continued
you
massive
very
success.
much.
And it's going to be fun to watch what you do with your own personal growth and helping to bring Paychex to the next level.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. And thank you, everybody, for watching what I thought was another great episode, great interview here on the Optimize Show. Again, every Wednesday morning, folks, we have a brand new episode. Go to our YouTube page, go to our website. On YouTube, you can subscribe, you can like, you can share. We'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much, everybody. Make sure to have a great day and stay awesome.